Alright, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy Tony Shen with Tony Shen Beats. I'm back with another beat tutorial. If you're new to this channel, basically this is a series where I make beats only using FL Studio stock plugins. In fact, this is probably the best beat making YouTube channel for beginners because A, I walk everything step by step. I explain everything along the way. And also two, like I said earlier, we're only using stock plugins or other easily accessible sounds. Today, we're gonna make a Lil Mosey type beat. I'm super excited for this tutorial. It's per request from one of my subscribers, so this one's for you, buddy. Now, before we get started, if you're new to this channel, please hit the subscribe button. Show your support, it really means a lot to me. Drop a like, drop a comment on what type of beats you want me to cover next. That would be greatly appreciated. In return, I have a bunch of free stuff in the link in the description, one of which is my free drum kit, Tony Shen Slap Pack Volume 1. This is just a drum kit that I give all of my new subscribers because I actually use the kit to make my videos with, and also you can use it for your own beats, royalty free. With that being said, Lil Mosey type beat, let's get it. First thing you want to do is set your tempo correctly. Now, Lil Mosey, he is like a melodic type rapper, but he's also got that West Coast, like he's from Seattle, I think, so he's got that like West Coast energy, so it's a little bit more up tempo. So, you know, let's go to like 102 BPM, a little bit more upbeat. And in terms of like the melodies, we're gonna go for like a more like soulful and just more like West Coasty type sounds, right? So first, let's just start with a Rhodes key. The preset that I'm using comes from FL Studio Flex, which is a free sample library. The sound that we're using comes from the Essential Pianos installed pack. It's free for everyone on FL Studio. And we're gonna use the Rhodes MKIII Lite. Nice Rhodes piano. Now, if you don't have Flex for some reason, like if you're using an older version of FL Studio and you don't have Flex, feel free to use Morphine. It has very similar sounds, and you have access to a bunch of pianos like the Rhodes as well, so feel free to substitute that if that's not available to you. So yeah, with that being said, we selected our sound. Now let's work on our chords. So we're gonna come up with something kind of soulful, right? I'm thinking like, okay, so we're just using minor 7 chords. So it's pretty simple, right? What a minor 7 is you just start with a minor chord, which is just the 1, 3, and the 5. Right? 1, so in the E minor scale is just the 1, the 3, and the 5. So E, G, and B. Right? And then you just add a 7. So if E is 1, then the 7 would be D. Right? So the 7 just adds a little bit more tension to the chord and just gives that extra bit of like ring to it. So we have our minor 7th chord. So I'm thinking like bum bum bum. Right, let's turn our metronome on. And then we just go up 1 half step. So F. So F. So now that's a F major 7. Bum bum. That's just the G major chord. And that's just gonna be our chord. Cheers to that. Little note just to, you know, make it a little different between the two parts. Pretty soulful, pretty playful. So now let's make this sound a little bit more interesting, because when you just play chords and when you're just drawing notes into the piano roll, right, it gets kind of boring. It sounds kind of machine-like. It doesn't sound that human. So what you can do is two things. First, we can offset the timing a little bit to make it sound more realistic and just factor in that human error type vibe, right? So Alt S or Option S if you're on Mac, that opens up the Seinnheiser, and as you can look at the notes, it's slightly offsetting the beginning of each note, just to offset a little bit. Second thing you can do is randomize it. So Alt R or Option R if you're on Mac, and then not the pan. The velocity, as you can see, when you randomize, it just changes. It just makes the velocity a little bit more random, and it just makes it more interesting. Now let's add a bass. So with the bass, we can go to Sauer, which has some dope bass sounds. Unfortunately, I don't have the full version of Sauer, but I'm going to teach you how to get around with that. So the only downside of having the trial version is that when you open back up, it won't open the original patch. So you're going to have to like open it again. But no worries, I have a way of circumnavigating that. Don't worry about it if you have the trial version as well. So let's go to bass and then find like a little West Coast like vibey bass, right? Now I like Sauer because it has some like very vintage, like that type sound, like yeah, like that's like, you know, that vintage like West Coast type bouncy bass. That's what we're looking for. So with the bass, in terms of the melody, we can just copy the bass note. But first, let's turn the piano down a little bit in terms of like the gain, so it's not way too loud and you can't even hear the bass, right? So to route, so we can just link it to the mixer. So just select these two and then Control Shift L. Yeah, it's super loud. So let's turn down the input gain a little bit. Yeah, and we can turn up the input gain for the bass. Now you want to be careful, right? So basically all I'm doing is following the root note of each chord. Now with this chord, it's actually inverted. So it's actually a G major chord. So instead of placing it on B, which is the lowest note in the chord, you actually want to place it on G because that's actually the root note. Because for the bass, you always want to follow the root note. Otherwise, it might sound a little bit awkward. Now we have the basic root notes set for your bass. You can also add some embellishing notes just to make it a little bit more interesting, right? So here maybe add another E to just give it that. Let's turn this volume fader down a little bit. Yeah. Now we have our basic vibe down. Let's start adding some drums. We're using Tony Shen Slap Pack Volume 1. The C4 clap is perfect for this occasion. So let's just vibe out. Now the hi-hats, best vibe you can possibly get. Obviously you could just, autofill and fill the two steps and then just be done with it, right? Or you could go to the piano roll or the step sequencer, just draw it in yourself. But for the best vibe, so what I would recommend is just to record it using your keyboard, which is actually super easy. All you have to do is press this button and hit notes and automation, and then press the space key to start recording, and then any key you play on your keyboard that registers as a note will do. Let me demonstrate. See how that's more vibey? Now it's a little bit off time. It's okay because we can automatically quantize it to the grid. So just Control Q. Yeah, just make sure you're setting it to like a desirable grid size. So we're doing step, and then just Control Q or Command Q if you're on Mac, and then listen. Hey, hey. And then open hat. Just give it that vibe. If you're not having fun doing music, like, that's the whole point, man. Don't forget to have fun. This is the best part of making music. It's fun, it's vibey, and if you're not dancing to it, then you're doing something wrong. Hey, stop. Right, now let's add some perks. This Congo, perfect complement to the beat. So same thing, let's record this in. So just hit this button right here. Notes and automation, hit the space. Boom, perfect. You can quantize this to the grid too. Control Q. Now let's work on our kick. You want like a hard kick because you wanted to punch through the bass, right? We're gonna use a Tobias kick. And then we can normalize this a little bit just to make it a little louder, just to make it fill the entire region, right? Then now let's just place the kick and get that bounce. Almost done with the beat. Now let's add some embellishing stuff on top just to make the higher frequencies a little bit more interesting, just to cover a little bit of the higher ends. We can add some bells, some leads, some plucks, whatever fits your mind. This is just to give it a little bit more spice, just to make the beat sound a little bit more interesting by itself. So there's a few plugins that we could use. You could use GMS, which is your most basic plugin here, and we could just find some presets, right? So let's find some cool plucks. Woo! Okay. Ooh, Midnight 2TE. This is the preset we're going with. Pretty fire. Since we already drew the chords, all you have to do is go to GMS here and then follow along with the chord melody. Then we can just, add onto the chords and use the chords as a reference to where you can add your notes. So. You could get a little creative and experimental and go off grid, right? It's all about experimentation. It's all about going out of your comfort zone. Boom, boom, boom. So that was obviously dope, but that could be one section for like the chorus. Maybe we want a different melody playing on top for like the verse, right? So now let's find, yo, you know what would be fire? Flute. Let's look for a flute and flex. If you don't have flex, again, there are really fire flutes in Harmor, and that should be free to everyone. So yeah, that's a perfect alternative. So let's go to tags, go to wind, and make sure you select all because that will search through all of your installed packs. and then maybe like a flute sustained. Oh, that's dope. That's fire. Right? You should be singing along. Like, you should be having fun. You should be vibing out. You know, you could be in your room by yourself just singing and then vibing. Like, that's why we do music. It's because it's fun, it's beautiful, and it makes you happy. Yeah, that's fire. Pitches up an octave. To pitch up an octave, just command or control up, and that pitches it up an octave. Okay, so now let's route the rest of our sounds into the mixer. So just drag and select them, make sure they're green, and then go here, Control Shift L or Command Shift L if you're on Mac, and then now we have all the sounds routed to the mixer. And let's level some of our other sounds a little bit. You know, the flute is a little bit loud right now. Let's turn this down. Let's just EQ our sounds a little bit, just to make sure they're not clashing, right? The Rhodes, there's some lower frequencies, just cut that out a little bit so it doesn't really interfere with your bass. We can make the flute sound a little bit more bigger and sit on top of everything better, so we can add some reverb. But not too much, because otherwise that's just gonna make it sound too wet and drench everything out. So just a little bit of reverb is fine. Don't overdo it. And all the drums are pretty much mixed for you already, so you don't need to do too much stuff to the drums unless you want to. But right now, they knock pretty well, so we got everything done. Last step is to arrange it. So let's just, you know, select their pattern 1, place it on the playlist, and then right click here, split by channel. So we have each individual instrument / pattern by itself, so we can arrange it better. And one last thing before we start arranging, like, I don't have the full version of Saurer, so what that means for FL Studio is that, like, once I close this file and I open it back up again, it's not going to let me use the Saurer. It's not gonna open the Saurer patch, so I have to like open it again. But no worries, this is a very simple hack. All you have to do is convert it to audio. So just click here, make sure that pattern is selected, right click, and then render as audio clip. Okay, and now we have this bass as audio form. Give me a second, I need to reinitialize my audio driver. So as you can see, if I try to open FL Studio again, it says, you know, it's a trial version, so it will be locked, but it's okay because we converted to audio and everything should play. Easy hack. See, it's no issue. It's no issue. It's no big deal. It's all fun and games. Let's just put in the same mixer track. So Control L. Now let's arrange this beat. So this is your intro. that, ladies and gentlemen, is our final beat. We did it from start to finish. I had a wonderful time making this beat with you guys. Now, if you haven't subscribed yet and you're new to this channel and you enjoyed this video and you learned something from it, please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. It really means a lot to me. Drop a like on this video, help this channel grow. And I promise you, my videos in the future are just like this and will help you a lot. This, again, is the best channel for beginners or anyone who just want to deeper dive into FL Studio, because I go everything step by step. I have tons more videos covering different artists in this playlist, so make sure to check them out if you're interested. So now I'm going to play the beat for you guys and enjoy the show, guys.